everyone. I'm Siham Awada Jafer with Chief Dave Brogan and Chief Lee Gavin, and this is Chief Chat. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Welcome. Happy New Year.
Yes, thank you. Happy New Year to you too. The holidays. I hope we had a safe city in terms of fire and in terms of our police department.
We were good. Crime never quits. We had a few incidences, but nothing major.
Absolutely. We did have the shooting at the police department, and that of course was taken care of very well. I do commend the police department for swift action and containing it. But can you tell us a little bit about the specifics, what happened, as much as you can tell us in regards to where we are right now with the investigation?
That morning we had a gentleman come into the courthouse, and for our viewers that have been into our station or court, we have a metal detector there, a little a guard booth. So the gentleman was at the guard booth for a couple minutes, and then he come through the metal detector, and they detected a metal object, set off the alarm, and things happened so quickly. He was carrying a approximately 8-inch stainless steel steak knife. So 2 guards are working there, and 1 guard backed up to try to control the situation, and this gentleman ran by him and ran into the little guard shack and attempted to stab the other security officer.
He was asked to go back, wasn't he? And,
yep.
and he refused to do so?
He refused. And it's a matter of split seconds
Seconds
from when when the knife was first detected. Within 5 seconds, he made his move towards a security guard, had his arm raised, holding the knife. The officer yelled at him, security officer yelled at him, put the knife down, put the knife down. Gentleman didn't put it down, he lunged towards him, the officer shot him. After that, naturally, we called in the state police and let them conduct the investigation. They take control of the crime scene and do their thorough investigation, and they'll submit all the findings, all the information to the prosecutor's office, and then prosecutors will make a determination as if the shooting was justified, and from this everything looks justifiable.
Well, when you have someone lunging at you
yes.
with a knife and being asked to go back and not conforming to those suggestions or that those asking him to go back, of course there's going to be some issues, and that you have someone who's not complying with requests.
And we were very fortunate. The officer that was involved was a former police officer, so he had a lot of police training, and he did say that training come into play here.
Did it? Good.
A lot of witnesses heard him yell, put the knife down, place the knife down. He was yelling loud, verbal commands, and we don't know what the gentleman's intent was, and he came in there. He's been in the courthouse before. He knows there's a metal detector. He knows the rules. So he come in with some intent to do something. We don't know what, but he went after the court officer there.
And you can't really talk about his history or priors or anything like that now?
We had some prior dealings with him before, and that's the extent of it. It's still under investigation by the Michigan State Police, naturally waiting for toxicology on everyone involved.
So the whole incident was like maybe 10 minutes, if that?
Maybe 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Okay.
Gentleman, sure, he was talking for a few minutes, but if you take that, by the time he come through the metal detector and his weapon was detected, a few steps over to the guard with his knife up in the air, and so it was a very short time span.
And very well, implemented by the police department. But what happened afterwards as well? I think that's really something that needs to be addressed, because there was so much miscommunication in regards to what happened. The media, different things within the stations, information that you got, which was totally, incorrect about the situation. So, talk to us a little bit about that, and then how do we address that kind of thing, and make sure that, issues that are contained are not blown out of proportion.
Whenever we have these crisis situations, these situations we review at a later time, the number one issue is always communication. Mm-hmm. Now the issue with social media, we had people that were in the courthouse waiting for their court.
Tweeting.
People have their cell phones.
Sure.
What other mobile devices. And while this activity is going on, exchange of gunfire, they're texting, they're laying low, and they're sending out information at the spur of the moment. That information gets out to the public or to their friends, creates a storm.
And everyone adds a little bit
everyone
to it.
adds. The story is always changed, and so, within 5 minutes afterwards, you've got reports of shooting of officers, of command officers, of court personnel. This was an isolated incident. One subject come in on his own. He was shot, and that was it. There was no other people involved. Naturally, we've had these, not this type, but we've had incidences around the country, and
Sure.
The one out in California. And nowadays you're always looking to see if there's another person involved. When there's a lone person, you're always wondering, is there someone else outside? Is there someone in the car? And that's just, things have changed over the years when we have these type of situations, and you just got to be more cautious.
The process changes too.
The process, the investigation, the course of action, everything changes, and you just got to make sure that there's not more people involved, not more people. I mean, could there have been people inside? Could there have been people outside that wanted to get involved? So
he created sort of a distraction, and then sure.
Yeah, so it just it creates a crisis. But our officers complimented our officers. They did a great job
Absolutely.
to get the situation under control. Like I said, they didn't know if other people were involved. They started questioning people in the lobby to make sure nobody else was a counterpart or was involved. So the residents in the courthouse, they expressed their appreciation for the way the job was handled. And once we got the situation under control, then we called in the state police, let them do the investigation. They're trained, they deal with these type of incidences on a lot bigger basis than we do, so we call in the experts.
And how long does that investigation usually? Because it sounds like cut and dry. Someone that
Yeah.
came in and really had an intent not to cooperate. So
They're very thorough. They interview everybody. They take all the evidence. They were there for the majority of the day. When they complete their investigation, they'll forward everything to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. But again, we have to wait for toxicology and any other reports like that. They'll submit a total package to the prosecutors, and they'll review everything and make sure everything was on the up.
Given social media and given the texting and everyone with their phones, is there a way to try to maintain the information flow where there's not that miscommunication? Because especially in this day and age,
Yeah.
and especially with the fear factor, and especially with people on edge, an incident like that could cause more chaos, basically.
Yep.
So is there a way to try to contain that, or are we
Not
just sort
really.
of left victim
We're
to
kind
our
of left.
technology?
The only way is if we had a sign there, the court had a sign, no cell phones allowed in the building.
Mm-hmm.
So that is about the only way. People are so used to their cell phones. It's part of their everyday,
Sure.
every minute lifestyle. So in the future, you'd have to put them up in stores, businesses, everywhere, and people
That's
people
not
don't
happening.
want that.
That's not gonna
gonna
happen.
So it's hard to prevent cell phones, social media in these situations.
Or maybe there should be a directive to media saying, you don't report anything until you
Don't.
get the,
Yep.
the
Right, and the
official report.
citizens will email or text to news reporters, whatever, and their job is to cover the story, and they're there.
Whatever
and-
information
yep,
they
in
have.
a split second. And we as professional police officers know that we have to release some of the information. If you don't
People
release
wanna know,
information,
sure.
then they're going to make up information. And after the fact, everything's there, so you release what you can. A lot of times your hands are tied, releasing names and certain information, but you do the best you can to keep them updated, and that's what you want them to be informed of what's going on with as much as you can give them, but again, we're restricted what we can give out.
Absolutely. Now, as a city, the fire department gets involved in this. So to what extent, and when are you called in, and what would be your positioning on this?
Whenever we find a situation that's hazardous like this, the police will often secure the scene before we make entry into that scene.
Sure.
So there's a lot of calls that will stage in an area back until the police say, yes, now the scene is secure, and then we can come in. So, and there's some times where we have to call the police to come in and help us out. If we find ourselves already in the scene, then we work with the police. But they do a great job of keeping us safe. And this incident just shows the danger of the policeman's job and how things can turn so quickly. Like the chief said, in a matter of 10 seconds, all that happened. And so and it was also a good thing that was a police officer, a retired police officer who was doing that job, because there are other people that can do that position, that can apply for that position, but we refer to these, police and fire have the same thing. It's a low frequency, high risk event, and those are the ones that we really train for. Like in the fire service, we train for a Mayday situation where you find yourself trapped. There are certain circumstances where a fireman is in immediate danger, and so we have an automatic set of rules that we start to follow, and that's exactly what this officer went through. He started off yelling out the commands. When you hear the witnesses' statements, he was yelling commands, and then didn't hesitate, where a lot of people may have hesitated to pull the trigger.
Sure.
And it's such a, there's a lot of things said about police, but it's such a dangerous job, and our guys do a real good job, and our citizens can be very proud of our department, our police department.
Absolutely.
Thank
and without the police department, I mean, we would not have civility. We would not have,
Exactly.
there would be total chaos, and so obviously, there's that discussion there.
Yep. The old saying is, you don't need a police officer. Nobody calls a police officer until they need one, right?
In times of peace.
Nobody wants to see the police officer stop them when they're speeding or doing a traffic violation. But when in need, who do they call? They call the police.
They call the police.
And our guys are professional, like Chief Dave said, and we respond and do the best we can.
Absolutely. Given certain issues and given things that have happened, we talked a little bit about this, but I want to get your input on the ban that Obama placed on military items that certain police stations have, city police stations have. I know it's not a big deal, but I know when you have a crisis, I mean, it's good to have those things because it is added protection. So how does the city of Dearborn Heights fare with what he did, and are we still sort of in the same position we were prior to that mandate?
We have a vehicle that we received from the government. The law was just changed where any of the vehicles that have tracks on them, like tanks, tracks, had to be turned back in. I know Wayne County, Macomb County, Oakland County had those type of vehicles. Our vehicle has tires, so we were able to keep that. And
so what's the difference? I mean, what is the difference between having the tracks and the tires? I mean, is it just terrain? Is it just, it looks more military?
When you got them back from the military, from the government, some had the tracks, some had the tires. The tires for us serve us a little better in our community. Kind of with our geographical locations.
But why were those okay to keep, and the ones with the tracks?
And that was just in the law, and I don't know for sure. So we were fortunate we kept ours, but it's just another piece of tool in our everyday enforcement. We don't use it every day, but in a situation, if we have a subject that's shooting at the police, at the neighbors, at whoever, you know what?
For protection,
for protection. The officers can go in there and approach the house, the home, in a safer mode. So that's our goal out there, is every day to provide the equipment, to allow our officers to do the best job that they can, and for them to go home safely every night. Their families waiting for them at home. So all this extra equipment helps us out. In this day and age, there are so many weapons, so many different types of weapons out there. A lot of times we're outgunned. They have more equipment than us. So we need every little bit.
Absolutely, and that's another conversation in terms of gun control. That is a huge national conversation, and you have people who are, avid hunters, which I'm totally against, and then you have individuals who say, the right to bear arms. So, as police officers, I mean, that discussion, what's your perspective on that? I mean, my personal perspective would be we would have a lot more of a safer community if police officers had the guns in the right hands, and those individuals were maybe more vetted. I think the vetting process has to be increased in regards to who's allowed to have guns or not. But what is the general perspective of the police department and law enforcement on that issue? I know that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Pipe in if you'd like.
And everyone has their own opinion. You got some police officers, they're big gun fans, they like guns. Other officers, they use their weapon, carry it at work, and other than that, they're not into guns. So, you know what, one thing we do know is the bad guys are going to have weapons. If we tighten the laws or we loosen the laws, whatever, they're going to have the weapons. Those are the ones that are going to use it. They're the ones that are going to harm our residents. People go and they take their gun safety courses. Most of our citizens that have weapons, they know how to use them. They use them. They're in their home. They're for their safety. You know what? When we see these crimes out there, these people shot, robbed, with these weapons, a lot of these are guns that are bought off the street. They might not even be functional. So, it's just really an opinion of each individual. You can say, hey, if everyone had a gun out there, then maybe you wouldn't have these robberies, you wouldn't have these incidences. But then we look at, there was that incident out in Oakland County where some people were shoplifting, taking some items out of a Home Depot, I believe, and a lady had a CPL. She fired rounds at them. She was not justified. They were stealing something. Doesn't mean that they can be killed over it. So, yes, you get more guns out there, you could get more of those incidences.
And the vigilante kind of mentality as well. Which
so it's, I really don't know what the answer is.
It'll
be a conversation.
Are you going to pipe in on this?
Well, I don't want to live in the Wild West where everyone's carrying a gun and shooting at each other, that's for sure. Why don't we just have the good guys have guns and no bad guys have guns? That would be easy,
that would be
right?
a perfect world. That would be a perfect world.
There's no way to make
But I
that
think
happen.
the vetting process is really important.
I agree.
And I can't imagine anyone being against additional time frame, additional vetting, and additional circumstances in being able to get a gun. I mean, if you have someone with some mental illness that's coming in and trying to, legally purchase a gun, I think they need to be vetted for a lot longer and to try to figure out whether this person is, indeed capable. So, and that conversation seems to I mean, who could possibly be against that kind of,
We want to make sure that the people that own weapons or possess weapons are mentally and physically able to do it. We want to make sure that the guns are in the right hands of the people.
Absolutely. Do we have a SWAT team?
We have a SWAT team, yes. We call it our TRU team, our Tactical Response Team. Approximately 12, 14 officers, and we've had our team for a good 15, 20 years. And there's occasions we bring them in.
Deployed them?
They're deployed to certain situations. Even sometimes a search warrant on a high risk if you're doing maybe a narcotics home. And weapons involved, and you bring in a SWAT team. So they're there. I've trained with them a lot over the years. I was a negotiator. A little different, group between the negotiators and the tactical guys. But I trust our guys. If I was in a situation where I needed help, I was taken hostage or something, I would trust our guys to get the situation resolved. They'd be there. They're good guys.
Chief, we talk about the military equipment and what have you. Well, the fire trucks are, mandatory to be, in good condition. What are our fleet? What's the condition of our fleet in Dearborn Heights, and what's the maintenance process to make sure that they're working order when we need them?
Yeah, you have to make sure not only the trucks themselves, but every piece of equipment on the truck fires up with the first try.
Right.
You can't need the chainsaw and go pull it and
Oops.
have it not start, right?
Right.
So if you need a hole in the roof, you need the hole in the roof right now. So we actually have one of the top maintenance groups in the entire area. I know I may be a little bit biased, but there are only a few shops that work on fire trucks. You have to have to work on the brakes. You have to have special certifications. And the main shop that we use actually tells other departments to base their maintenance program on what we do. And this started long before me. Yeah, long before I got here. This is a tradition that wherever it began, our pump operators, that's who drives the trucks. They just have that's their job. There's 6 first line pump operators and then 6 backup pump operators. But they their entire job is to drive the truck and every piece of equipment on the truck, and there's just been an expectation over the years of you don't want anything to be wrong with them. That they could tell you if the truck is just making a funny noise or feeling different, and they can talk to one another, and they're just so in tune to that truck and to every piece of equipment on the truck. It's really impressive. We do a maintenance program. There are daily checks, weekly checks, and monthly checks. That's just very thorough. They get annual testing just to make sure that they can maintain pumping certain amounts of water depending on the rating of the pump. And
now with the colder weather coming in as well, space heaters, and I even have a space heater because I'm always cold, so I'm always putting that on. What safety concerns do we have, and do you usually make more runs in the wintertime because of this, or is
the types of runs just tend to vary. But heating fires in general are a pretty high cause of house fires across the country, and is again true in Dearborn Heights. And that includes both furnaces and space heaters. Space heaters, they've come a real long way over the years with all the safety precautions they have on them. We actually we were intentionally trying to start a fire with a space heater. This was in one of my classes years ago. Like 4 or 5 years ago with the newer space heaters, and they have so many. They have if it's tipped or just at too much of an angle, it will shut off. If the temperature gets too high, it will shut off. Sure. So there are a lot of safeties that will have it shut off. However, we still don't recommend you have them in the bedroom on at nighttime. You don't want to get caught, especially when you're sleeping. It takes people a while to wake up, and by the time a fire gets started, they spread so quickly. And again,
so more blankets.
More blankets, yep. And space heaters in general, they're very, they're much safer, but never use like a propane, something that's made for outdoors. You don't want to use that in an enclosed space because then we have carbon monoxide issues, and so those are the issues you have to be careful of.
Absolutely.
And extension cords, because any device you have that creates heat, that has an enormous draw of electricity. Even like a coffee pot or anything. But if it's generating heat, it's going to be pulling a lot of power. And if you're using an extension cord, if the cord is covered, if there's any sort of resistance in the cord, any sort of pinch or nick in it, it has a spot to generate heat and potentially start a fire.
We have the Ping 4 updates.
Yes.
How is that used in the winter months exclusively for those kinds of issues, or additional snow advisories and things like that?
They use it for snow advisories, and also we were talking earlier about the way rumors can spread, and the way people want their information and they want it right now, and that's what a lot of it. What we saw at the police shooting, there was people want an answer and they want it right now. We're used to whatever it is. We're used to looking at our phone. What's on TV tonight? What's the weather tomorrow?
Instant gratification of information.
And there's just a constant
flow.
Constant flow of information. So we try to do our best when anything that comes from Ping 4 is coming from a city official, that we know that this is the facts of the case. Yeah. Now, in the case of the police shooting, there was a lot that we couldn't put out because the state police had taken over the investigation, and so we were limited on what we could put out, what we couldn't. So that was a factor in that. But when it comes down to weather alerts, I know that Bob Ancrap is very good at getting those alerts out to everyone. Yes. Road closures, and any sort of official, anything you get from Ping 4 that's coming from one of us, that's not just someone's opinion or what I think I might have saw, that's coming from a city official.
So we can make sure that that's valid information.
Yeah, and remember Ping 4 if you don't, you could get it on the App Store or on the Play Store, depending on your device, either Apple or Android. And it's free, and you just get it and sign up, and it will use your location. So even if you've signed up and you have the location settings on, if you travel someplace that's a community that supports Ping 4 and you're in it, then you'll get them from there. And you can have it set to Dearborn Heights specifically too. So it's a great app, it's a free app, and we recommend everyone put it on their phone.
Good. Like Chief Dave says, road closures or something that we know official from one of the city department heads we can put out there. So it's a good tool to have.
And right now we have the emergency system as well when we hear the sirens during the day. Now, what would we use those for in the wintertime? I mean, obviously, when we hear them, it's not always an emergency. We were talking earlier that if there's like 3 inches of snow, you would use that to let people know where to park their cars, or.
Right. Usually with the sirens, you'll hear a test every now and then on a Saturday at 1 o'clock. You'll hear those tests. And you hear them in the spring and the summer when storms let it be.
Is it Saturday or the first Sunday of every month? Is it?
It's first Saturday.
Saturday of every
first
month?
Saturday at 1
Okay.
o'clock. Yeah.
That's when I thought I heard them. But
Yeah, you're probably right. Weekend is weekend to me.
But every now and then they change the dates and
Okay.
times on those. But in the winter, if you hear it, most likely it's not a tornado. It could be thunder, lightning, but it's usually a winter storm warning of some type that's been issued. And then we would activate it through our dispatchers. They activate the alarms in the city. And I think there's 10, 12 locations, so you'd be able to hear those sirens. If you hear the sirens, that means, you know, a good amount of snow or wind, some type of weather situation is coming. And again, if you hear that, get your cars off the street. We've been fortunate this winter, not too much snow. I'm sure we're going to get some. Again, and remind everyone, it makes it so much more easier for our DPW to come by and plow the streets. And then your car doesn't get plowed in. Try to get it up in the driveway the best you can.
Absolutely. A question: when it's garbage day, usually on Wednesdays for us, should the cars be off the street, or is that not really an ordinance, but just more of a let's be nice and take the cars off the street for the trucks to come in?
Courtesy here in Dearborn Heights. It's not an ordinance. I know some communities, in fact, Dearborn has an ordinance like that. But in our city, no. You know, you ask the residents to park the cars in the driveway if you can on trash pickup days, especially when you have, you know, a large amount of snow and people have their trash and it's half in the street, half on the curb. Just makes it easier if you get the cars out of there. Trash can come down the street and be a lot more efficient picking it up.
And make sure those space heaters are under
Those
control.
Space heaters under control. That's right.
Absolutely.
And if you do have a heavy snow, watch out for your older neighbors too. If you are free, especially if you have a snow blower and they don't, take care of their sidewalk for them. Try to help them keep the snow cleared.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you had a certain message for us, certain.
I get a couple messages. One real quick. We're still continuing to get the larcenies in our city. We have to remind our residents to lock their car doors, cars, trucks, vehicles. We get so many where people go in, open a door, and they're taking change out of the console, iPads, computers, whatever. So that's one thing. The second is
lock your doors, lock your cars.
Lock your doors. You know, I get a lot of citizens that come up. The seniors say, "Hey, Chief, I saw you on TV, you and the fire chief and that beautiful lady in the center." And they said, "But you never say hi to us." So to the seniors out there, you know, that watch me repeatedly, I want to say hello and Happy New Year. And there's one in particular, she's coming up, she's going to have her 97th birthday, and her name is Lottie. So I just want to say hi to her and wish her many more years of health.
Well, wonderful. Well, happy birthday, Lottie. We wish you many, many, many more years of health and happiness. I want to thank you for some amazing information, Chief. Absolutely wonderful. And thank you for that information as well. And let's stay safe. We've got the two best guys on the beat, and we are very, very fortunate in Dearborn Heights. Have a wonderful day.